Let's bring in the apparent Democratic nominee for president, former Vice President Joe Biden, and former Second Lady of the United States, author and educator Dr. Jill Biden. It is great to have you both on the show with us.
Thank you so much for being with us.
And thank you.
It's great seeing you. I want to ask you, Mr. Vice President, to talk to the people who are hurting and suffering right now. Willie and Meek and I were talking earlier about what a shame it is that right now in the middle of a pandemic where over 30,000 people have died, hundreds of thousands have been impacted and are suffering right now, either by this disease or being out of work. They don't have a national leader that can express empathy. Could you talk to them as a man who's endured loss and tell them what's on your mind right now and how you understand what they're going through?
Well, Joe and Mickey, I really mean it. What's on my mind is they're on my mind. I mean, people are frightened. They're frightened. People we know who aren't close friends, who have access to our telephone number, how to get a hold of us, and these roundtables we do with people who are in the front lines, who are they're scared to death, Joe. Joe, basic things like, how do I go home? Our son-in-law is a physician a surgeon up in Philadelphia, one of the major hospitals. And he talks about the nurses who are afraid to go home because they may get their children get infected. They have little kids at home. Well, what are they going to do? How are they going to take care of their child? What's going to happen when they can't see mom? We have a friend who tries to go to the nursing home and sit outside a window and put her hand up on the first floor window to just be able to touch her mother's hand at the other side. And now the mother's not able to get up and even do that. These are people who are frightened and they're looking for leadership. And what bothers me so much is the President of the United States doesn't take responsibility. The President of the United States acts like this is not his, nothing is his fault. Nothing is his responsibility. You know, Franklin Roosevelt made the case that, look, just tell the American people the truth. I'm paraphrasing. They can handle it. But you got to let them know what you're doing. You got to let them know you understand their pain. The worst thing in the world is going through this in isolation and thinking nobody hears me. Nobody knows what I'm going through. And think of all the people we all know, the people we grew up with. They're scared to death. And they don't even have, and they're looking at practical things, Joe. They're looking at things like, okay, guess what? I don't have insurance, and this guy's trying to do away with the insurance that I had in this Affordable Care Act thing. They're not even sure the detail, but what am I going to do? And he's in court. He's in court trying to take it away. He's talking about doing things that, in fact, make no sense to people, the average people. He's talking about getting us back to work when they don't even have an ability to get it. I got a call yesterday. How do I get a test, Joe? Joe, I think I have a problem, Joe. I sat with a guy yesterday on a telephone, and he's telling me, he said, I don't know. He said, look, I worked at the hospital. And he said, then I got myself in a position where I got the virus, so they quarantined me and they put me in the hospital, and I made it out, and so I'm out. But they don't want me with my family. I'm on the 3rd floor. I spent 15 minutes on the phone with him saying, he said, I have a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. And they come to the door outside and they just knock on the door and say, Daddy, Daddy, can I see you, Daddy? Can I see you, Daddy? So we spent time going through it. I used to do with my kids when they were little and I couldn't see them, and we'd play games. I said, make up a game, knock on the door and say, this is, it's practical things. The guy's scared to death. And he's worried about his children. He's worried about his wife. I mean, these are practical things. And the president talks about this like, okay, it's going to be okay. We're going to open tomorrow. We're going to do this. I mean, I must tell you, it drives me crazy. I don't know what he doesn't understand about people's fears.
It seems that he doesn't understand.